Stephanie from Milkshed, and I'm here with Yarn Chat number 16. Today is Sunday, March 20th? March 20th. I think it's the first day of spring, and it definitely feels like it. You can see how red I am. It is so warm in here right now that I had to open the window, and then because of that, the blinds are like smacking against it. I hope you can't hear it too much. The only alternative, I mean, that's why I have this like white spot. It's because the blinds are like kind of open. If I close them all the way, then they smack around. If I leave them open, then I get like blown out. But whatever, it doesn't matter. It is beautiful. It just feels like the perfect spring day. Dogs are outside. We're loving it. Sunday's the first day of our weekend, so it feels like our Saturday. And I just love them. I always do a ton of knitting. Hopefully I film a yarn chat. We hang out with the dogs. It's just the best day. I'm really excited to share it with you guys. Before I get ahead of myself, this is Milkshed. This is a Wyoming handmade podcast. It's where I talk about life in rural Wyoming and all kinds of handmade things that I love. Usually that's knitting, just yarn in general, a little bit of crochet, a little bit of cross stitch, sometimes weaving, all those great things. And this is the first week that I am filming subsequent weeks, every week. So typically, I always tell you guys that I have like a really long podcast because I thought about filming last week, but it didn't seem like there was enough stuff, and so I skipped it. Now I have a ton, and true to form, that's where I am today. I was like, I gotta film. I said I was going to. I want to get on a better schedule, but I don't really feel like I have anything to talk about. And then, what do you know? Now it's like minutes of me rambling. So I'm sure we'll have a long one no matter what. I don't feel like I have a ton to talk about today, but I do have a finished object. I have a continuation of some works in progress and a new one. I have kind of a different kind of stash enhancement to share. And yeah, let's just get to it. Okay guys, let's start with a finished object. We're going to call this like a 99% finished object because it is done, but you will note, I got it right here, that I have not weaved in my ends, and that's not because I got lazy, it's actually intentional. So this is my Wildes Meer, which is a pattern by Kristen of Yarngasm and Woolenvine fame. I did this on, I showed this to you guys last week as a work in progress. I did it on Malabrigo sock in the colorway Persia. This is one of the skeins that I picked up from Blazing Needles in Salt Lake City. So last time I was like partially through the eyelet section, and I'm actually done now, and I want to show you the whole thing. So this is a typical triangle shawl. You start from the top center. We work this eyelet pattern. I made a slight change to the eyelets. There was just a pearl sequence in it that I couldn't get a groove on. And I have so many other projects in the mix that I wanted something that was like autopilot. So I changed that. I think that the texture of the eyelet's still there. I would have missed out. I think it creates this little pearl ridge that I missed out on. But I'm not unhappy about it. And then you do, it's written for optional beaded section. So here where these two garter stitch ridges are, you have the option to add beads. And then you have this fun, I don't know if she called them fish tails. I think they look like mermaid tails. So adorable. Love it. And then this knitted on border right here, which true to form, knitted on borders. I love them. I enjoy doing them, but they feel like they take forever. I don't know why it is, because normally when you're to this point of a shawl, you feel like it takes forever no matter what, because you're doing these really long rows. Instead for this, you just work back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And for anybody who hasn't done a knitted on border before, I'll tell you something that I really struggled with when I did my first one. And the stitch count wasn't really making sense. Krista makes this clear, but not every pattern does, that when you do a knitted on border, so you cast on stitches, you go back and forth, and the way that you attach it to the main body is usually through like a knit two together, a purl two together, something like that. So on this one, it made this really beautiful, you can see that nice seam right here. Looks great. So this is my finished shawl. I went ahead and blocked it, and now I'll tell you guys why I didn't weave in the ends. So the pattern is written as taking, I want to say it says like 438 to 450 yards, and Malabrigo sock is a 440 yard skein. So I was thinking like, man, I just don't know if I'm going to have enough. Maybe I should size down my needles because I'm so close on yardage. I have no way to get more. I don't really want to do a contrast border. I want it to just be in this color. So I sized down from I think it calls for a US 6. I sized down to a US 5. I did this on my I'm honestly not sure now if I use carbons or my Nova Platina. I just can't remember. And what I did is, let me think what I want to say. I have so many thoughts. I'm trying to go in an order. Kristen has a knit along thread. So in that knit along thread, there was a lot of discussion of people worried that they wouldn't have enough yarn. So I went ahead and weighed my skein after the eyelet section, before you get to the little fishtails and the beading section. I weighed it. I want to say I had like 54 grams left, like a significant amount. And then I went ahead and weighed it after the entire shawl was done, and I have 18 grams left. So that's a pretty good chunk. I think I did the math on it, and my skein, or my shawl, actually uses under 400 yards. Maybe it was like significantly under. I want to say 360 yards. It's more like, I mean, that's a ton left over. So as I was finishing and I was seeing how much I had left over, I was thinking, like, should I just redo the entire thing? I'm sure that sounds crazy when you see that I have a finished shawl that I've blocked and has everything but the ends woven in. And I'm just thinking, like, should I just rip the whole thing out and redo it? And I think that the way I would redo it is either to knit it on, instead of a US 5, I would probably use maybe even a US 7. I think I could stand to. Or I would add an entire repeat. So I would have to figure out how many more eyelet rows to do, and then to add a whole repeat of this, and then add however much of the border. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I think overall, you know, it feels very small when I'm holding it, when I show it to you guys here. I mean, I'm 5'10" and it's almost my wingspan. So I don't think it's all that small. I don't know. I definitely don't want to sound like I'm disappointed in it because it's beautiful. It was such a fun pattern. I will not hesitate to make another one. I showed you guys that skein of, what is it, Greenwood? It was that indie dyed skein that I got in Salt Lake City that I said would be really good for my mom. The yak in the green kind of brown tones. And I thought that this would be a perfect pattern to make a shawl for her. So beautiful pattern, had a ton of fun making it. But I also I really struggle with how to wear small shawls. So I wonder if it's going to be too small and if I should just suck it up, frog it, reknit the whole thing with more. I'm not sure. I'm not really decided. I'm not at all unhappy with the shawl that I have. I just wonder if I should have. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even think I've put it on yet. I don't think I've shared any finished photos. So, I mean, it's not super small. I'm going to try and lean in so that this horrible glare, maybe you can see it. So it's not, I guess it's not too small to wear. It's probably the first time I've put it on. So there we go. Maybe I'll just weave in the ends and leave it as is. If anybody has an incredibly compelling opinion on this, please let me know. Please help me decide. So that is my finished object for, I think we got the white spot gone a little bit. That's my finished object for today, my Wildes Meer shawl. This is going to be my personal March submission to our 12 and 12 project. In my threads, that is 12 months of one skein projects. If you have a skein of Malabrio sock or similar yardage sitting on your shelf and you want to do a really fun lacy shawl, cannot recommend it highly enough. Very clear, very well written. Loved it. I didn't have a single problem with it whatsoever. It was all doable. Even this looks super intricate. But when you do this 34 times, I think it's 34 or something like that, I actually got to the point where I almost had it memorized and I could just go back, forth, back, forth, back, forth pretty easily. So great, great little shawl. Even if I don't frog this one, I will probably be making another. So I'm going to submit this to Kristen's Wildes Meer knit along, and then my 12 and 12 from March. You will see this finished object. Oh, and I think that Andy from Andre Sue Knits shawl along is just wrapping up at the end of the month, so maybe I'll submit this as well. So finished object, done. If I don't frog this bad boy, it would probably be enough to do heels or toes for a pair of socks, or I will just wind it up for mini skeins, that kind of thing. So Next up, we'll do works in progress. First of all, I have an oldie but a goodie, and that is my sweater. I don't know if anybody was wondering why it wasn't shown last week, but here it is. This is my Fawn and the Fox green metallic bag in quite a large size. And this is that sweater. It is GEHRY from the one of the Brooklyn Tweed volumes. The last time I showed you guys this, I had just put the body together and I was finishing up a sleeve. So that was right before my trip. I did not finish it before my trip, unfortunately. I didn't take it on my trip. But I was chatting with a local friend who was getting into knitting, and she was just like, I love this. She has such enthusiasm for like, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to make a sweater. And as we were going back and forth and talking about good beginner sweater patterns, I don't know where that came from, patterns. I was like, man, I really want to make a sweater, but if I want to make a sweater, I should probably finish up this sweater that I have sitting on my needles as is. So I'll show you guys what I have done with the sleeve here. The background story on this, very quickly, we've talked about, is that I started this sweater before I started losing weight. I've now lost 55 pounds, and the sweater just doesn't fit. It's like a straight up tunic on me now. So I'm kind of struggling with this idea that I have a 90% finished sweater that I should just finish. And then I have a 90% finished sweater that doesn't really fit. So should I bother finishing it? So for the sleeve, I was debating if I should just knit in the round, get it over with. Should I do it? It's meant to be written, not written, it's written to be knit flat and then seamed into the shoulder. What I decided to do was a short row cap sleeve. And my rationale was really just that it's a good technique to learn. I might do it on my next sweater. So why not just try it out now? So I looked up some instructions, and this is what I've come up with. My issue here is that, well, first of all, because I wasn't following the original pattern, I didn't really know how many stitches to pick up. So I kind of just tried to come to a good ratio of stitches that would fit the current gauge of the sweater and also, you know, just fit my measurements for my arm. So this is the shoulder. You pick up all your stitches in the round, and then you create this short row cap sleeve where you're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until it does the curve of the shoulder, and then you knit in the round. Do you guys see how it's like right there, how it's bulging? This is what I don't know, and I would appreciate insight on. Does it just naturally do this? You see how it has that little bump right there? That's kind of where I've stalled on it. So it's not a lack of like desire to actually wear this sweater. I just feel like I put all this work into the shoulder and now it's not hanging particularly well. And I just am kind of, I don't know, is this something that just blocks out, or is it an issue with the way that I did the short row? Can you see how it's, I feel like even when I have it on, it kind of bulges there. And it's, I don't know. It's such a loose kind of casual sweater that I don't know if it really matters. I don't know if you would really see it. And then at the same time, I'm wondering, like, have I put all this work into this beautiful sweater only to ruin it on that count? I'm kind of torn. And at this point, it's just like knitting in the round for ages and decreasing ever so often so that it becomes like a fitted sleeve. So it's totally boring and I don't really want to work on it. For anyone who hasn't seen before, this is the sweater. The yarn is, oh, I got a needle. The yarn is from Skein Yarn out of Australia. It is her sport weight in the colorway Moroccan Mint. I did alternate my skeins. I think I have like 4 or 5 skeins into it so far, and then one right here. There's the color if you're curious. So I knit the front and back flat, seamed them together, and then added the trim here. And then my favorite part, the split seam for at your hip right there. It's just so flattering. I love it so much. So if you've done a cap sleeve sweater before, short row sleeve, would you let me know if I'm doing something wrong and if this will just block out, or if I have maybe like a tension issue? I don't know. So I'm still torn. Same old story on here, nothing interesting. I'm torn between like just get it done so you can say that you did and then frog it later, or is this really even, is it worth my time anymore? As spring, it never really gets hot. I mean, it does get hot in Wyoming. It gets up to 90 in Wyoming, but it's so dry that it's a very pleasant, doable heat. It's not a miserable 90 degrees. Like 90 degrees in Florida, I'm dying. I cannot handle the humidity at all. 90 degrees in Wyoming is just like, oh, it's a little warm today. So there's still plenty of wear for me in this sweater. It's not like over by any means, but this little bump really bothering me. Drives me crazy. So this has gotten a little bit of effort this past week. So a work in progress. I just got to get it done. Let's be realistic. I just got to get it done so I can like wear it and enjoy it and, you know, love it for as much time as I have with it until it just doesn't fit at all. I'm going to throw it back. I don't know if I said it or I just thought it in my head. I'm not sick. Since moving to Wyoming, we actually don't get sick like ever, but I do have horrible allergies. I'm allergic to the outdoors, anything that's out there, like raw wood, cedar chips, animals, and I have 2 dogs and a cat. All of dust. I'm allergic to everything. So I'm always like stuffed up. I need to upgrade my Flonase, I think, or something. But I'm so sorry. It's annoying and gross. But I promise you I'm not sick. I just choose to have animals even though I'm allergic to them, which is my own stupidity. Okay, so the next kind of project of the moment is my 3-color shawl that I am knitting. Just not saying anything right. Start over. My next project of the moment is my 3-color shawl that I am knitting for the Grocery Girls Knit Along. And I showed you guys this last week. My yarns are Malabrigo Makita and Sandbank and Natural. And then Quince & Co. I'm pretty, you know, I shared a photo of this earlier and I said that it was Quince & Co. Turn. And then I really second guessed that, but I'm pretty sure it's Quince & Co. Turn. And apparently my cake is coming all undone. Let's try and fix this. I got like, what happened here? Good Lord. Quince & Co. Turn in the colorway Rose Quartz. So it's going to be this very neutral shawl, which is something that my wardrobe could really benefit from. I picked up all 3 of these at Blazing Needles in Salt Lake City on my recent trip again. It sounds like I'm promoting them. They didn't pay me anything. I just love them that much. And I love this yarn. This is my shawl. Last time I showed you guys, I was through, I think I put a little progress. I mean, it's not a nice progress keeper. It's just a stitch marker. Yeah. Last time I was finishing up the last row of the eyelet section. And since then I have moved on. Oh yeah. God, I love it. I love it so much. When I was just doing these, I was thinking like, is this too much contrast? Does it really work? And now that I have more of the colors in here in these skinny stripes, I'm pumped about it. This is what I've been working on this morning. I am, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I just finished, I think you do 10 rows of each color. And I just finished the 7th row of, this is my 2nd color. So 3 more rows of each, and then I will finally be able to bring this color in. I mentioned last week that this color, there might not even be enough yardage. There is definitely no extra yardage, so I'm not going to be able to do an accent stripe in here like I kind of would have hoped for, but that's okay. That's no big deal. So we're going to be able to bring this in, and then we do the lace. I'm going to do the lace in this color, and then the contrast border. I think it's like a picot bind off in this color. So very excited, cruising right along. I am using, I know these are Nova Platinas. What size? I don't know that they're marked. Oh, US 6, 4mm. Nova Platina, favorite metal needle. Love it. Really great. This is one of the newer style Knitter's Pride cords. They are now color coded by length, I'm pretty sure. I think this is a 40-inch cord. I always have a tendency to knit on a cord that's too short because I do not mind having my stitches really bunched up tight together. So it's kind of hard to show you the whole thing. That's super attractive. Because it's all stockinette and you do this like really crescent shape, it curls like crazy. I've done this shape shawl before on different patterns and it will block out nicely. So there we go. It's getting big. It's going to be huge, which I'm okay with. I like a big shawl. I finally realized that I would rather put in the effort, you know, on any shawl, you kind of get to a point where you're like, holy, I want this to be over. I'm so done working on this. But I'm trying to remind myself that I would rather power through, keep going, and make it really big and then be more wearable than just like finishing early, have it be smaller, and then it ends up being something that I wouldn't really wear. So there we go, making progress. Awesome. Next up, this is a totally new project. So I was watching podcasts last week, and I was watching Carlene from the Made with Carlenergy podcast, and she was talking about a knit along that she is hosting. And it is for the LUCCA shawl from Brooklyn Tweed. It is this circular shawl with intricate lace, and immediately I was like, I need to make that. I don't even like circular shawls all that much, mostly because I don't really know how to wear them. I don't know, like I would never wear it draped over my shoulder where anyone could really see the pattern. So what's the sense in doing it? But I don't care. She showed a picture. She showed off her shawl. I loved it. And I happen to have a skein of the perfect yarn sitting in my stash anyway. I had set it aside to use for weaving. I wanted to do a really lightweight wrap. But once I saw the pattern and the yardage requirements, it was a perfect match. I do not have the label here, but it is, I think I've showed you guys before. I am 95% certain I picked up this yarn on a trip to Fort Collins, Colorado at a little yarn shop called maybe like your Daily Fiber. I think that's what it is. The skein is Mountain Colors lace in the colorway Mushroom. I'm pretty sure before I show you. As soon as I watched her podcast, I wanted to like wind it up immediately and start immediately. But I told myself that I had to finish Wildes Meer first. Otherwise, I knew I would be drowning in projects and never actually get anything done. So here is the yarn. It is definitely a lace weight. You can see right there. There are 1,200 yards in this. Well, originally in the cake. It was so big that this is my yarn bowl. And a lot of people comment on this yarn bowl. I picked this up. I've showed it off before. It's not the first time. But a lot of people comment on it when they see it in pictures. I picked this up at that little bitty fiber festival and okay, I'm back. I had to cough. I picked this up in that little bitty fiber festival in Laramie, Wyoming that I went to. It was at the booth of Cowgirl Yarn, which is a local yarn shop in Laramie. I wasn't able to stop by the actual shop because of when I was traveling, but I was able to meet them at the show. So it is handmade in Wyoming. I think she said it's made in a very tiny town called Centennial, Wyoming. It's just beautiful. I love it. It's a perfect weight. It's a perfect size. But the point I was making, when this skein was fully caked up, I had to like shove it in here. It would not fit. It's the first skein that I haven't been able to fit in here. So there it is. And the shawl I will show. I am currently knitting this on my Carbons US 3, which is, I'm sure it's rubbed off. It just says US 3. I don't have the millimeters, unfortunately. Sorry for anybody who is not in the US. So here is the shawl. I'm so worried. It's like going well. I had one little bit of problems and I think I was able to fix it, but I honestly don't entirely know. I'm hoping when it's blocked out, you won't really notice. You start in the center. So what I actually did for the center, there is a circular cast on that they suggested. I actually just did the technique for crocheting in the round. I think I even have my little bitty, yeah. I used my little bitty crochet hook. I just grabbed a size 3.25 millimeter D. I don't know much about crochet sizing. I did a crochet in the round, but instead of pulling through all the stitches, I just left them on the hook, and then I actually transferred them from there over to, I thought I had them here, over to double pointed needles. And ever since working on that sock, my hatred towards double pointed needles has been going away a little bit. I'm giving them a fair chance. There's an appropriate time for them. And when you're working on something this small, it just didn't make sense to me to do magic loop. So I actually did, oh, it looks like there's a hole, but there's not. It's all right. I actually did it on double pointed needles until I got to maybe, here or so. And then I switched over to these Addies. These are Addi lace turbo needles. And I don't think for this project, I've used these before and I don't think I had many complaints about them, but they filled me with so much rage on this project. And I'll tell you exactly what my complaint is. First of all, the cord. For an Addi needle, this cord is like, it's almost as bad as a Knit Picks cord. And you hear me talk all the time about how I love Knit Picks needles, but I hate their cords. This cord, look at that. When you're working with this fine of a yarn, you can't have it all kinked up like this. I've tried putting it in hot water. I've tried just stretching it. I've tried getting it really warm and then like smoothing it and smooth. It always goes back. It's the worst cord ever. It's really brittle. I mean, you can hear how cheap and plasticky it is. Drives me crazy. And then I'm going to try and show you on. So right here, this join, it's too abrupt. I had to like shove the stitches up this join and I just don't understand why. If I'm knitting my stitches on the needle, they should be appropriately sized. This join was okay, but then this like increase was horrible. I couldn't even get them past it. I thought I was gonna rip my yarn trying to shove them past it on every single round. Drove me absolutely crazy. So these quickly got pushed aside. Unfortunately, I would love to like them, and I think on this project, having a fixed metal needle would be perfect. These would be perfect if it wasn't for that. So from there, I moved them over to my carbons, and I just knit magic loop until just recently I've been able to just knit it in the round as is. These are the carbons on, just a regular Knitter's Pride cord. I'm not having, actually this join is fine, and this one is kind of okay, but then on this one, the stitches are just so small and it's such a fine thread that there's a tendency for them to get stuck right there, which is a little frustrating, but it's nowhere as bad as those Addies. The Addies were just absolutely horrible. So, unless you're a lace knitter, I'm sure this isn't very interesting, but this is a pie shawl, which is I think it's an Elizabeth Zimmerman invention, and they have hidden the increases in the lace motif, which is quite fun. So this round, these little tree shapes gave me some trouble, and this yarn is just so thin that sometimes when I'm doing like my slip knit specifically, I feel like it just looks like a jumble of trash and it doesn't look like a nice stitch. So I keep going back to the projects that have already been completed and looking at the final projects and looking at what yarn they use and trying to trust that, like, my yarn, it is not the yarn that it calls for, but it is an appropriately swapped yarn, and I just have to kind of trust that when it's all done and it blocks out, that it's not just going to look like a bunch of string all held together and then I'm going to get a nice design, because I've questioned it quite a few times. But this first part goes quite fast. From here, it's about to get brutal. It's just going to be really, really long rows with intricate motifs, but I like it. I'm enjoying it. So if you have any interest in joining that knit along, I know that Carlene is hosting it with some other podcasts, so I will definitely list who those are in the show notes. Apologies for leaving them out, but that just happens to be the podcast that I was watching when I heard about it. So that's the one that's fresh in my mind. So this is in progress. This and the 3-color shawl are kind of like my main priorities at the moment. Not a whole lot else going on for knitting. So no additional progress on my Tunisia crochet, no additional progress on my socks. I have decided that I had separately decided, and then I was watching Pin Feathers and Pearls with Candace the other day, and she said that in order to be eligible for the knit along, you do need to knit like a full length sock, not a little Rose City roller. I'm not knitting a Rose City roller. I'm knitting something that's kind of like mid calf to ankle. I don't think it really counts. So I'm still plugging away on those socks, but I'm also using them still as just like a learning experience to figure out how they're going to fit my foot. I think I've made a little more. I made a little more progress on it, but not a ton. Really, I just need to get it done to see, have I gone too big? Have I gone too small? How are these working? Is this a pattern that I want to continue with? And then I will get into a real pair. So maybe a little bit further, but nothing really worth. I mean, I've already showed you, but nothing really worth showing off in detail. So there we go. And then I think that's it for projects. You see, guys, this is why I always feel like it's not worth podcasting every week, but it's going to get us a shorter episode, which is definitely something that we all need. Okay, let me break for a second. Sidebar. My video last week, I really want some insight. This is not just like a complaining about computers issue. I feel like I'm doing something wrong, and I would love your suggestions. I posted about it on Instagram. I got a few suggestions here and there, but nothing that really seemed to contribute. So the problem is that, I mean, I've mentioned before that when I upload a video, it uses our entire bandwidth. We cannot do anything else. We can't even like refresh Instagram on our phones. So right before we go to bed, I set it to upload and just kind of like fingers crossed that it uploads successfully overnight. So I filmed last Sunday. I tried to upload Sunday night, failed. When I set them to upload, it says that it's going to take like, 6,000 minutes, but that's pretty normal. So I don't get too upset about it. When I woke up in the morning, 8 hours later, it said that it had 21,000 minutes to go. It had gone like 6%. So I canceled it because otherwise we couldn't use the internet all day. And then Monday night, I did the exact same thing. So I wake up and it says it has 15,700 some minutes to go. So I canceled it. And then I did it again on Monday night. So Tuesday when we went to work, I figured like, well, we're going to be at work all day. So let me see what it can get done in like the 9-10 hours that were gone. Did it. Didn't go up again. So I just don't understand what I'm doing wrong. I'm filming on my phone. In the past, I've filmed on my computer, my iPad, my phone. I don't think it's that. My file size, I'm saving it only as 540 resolution, which is like one step into HD, but just bare. I mean, it's not like an ultra HD 1080 video. Obviously, file size has something to do with it, so the long videos definitely don't help. A shorter video will make things a little easier, but I definitely watch podcasts. I mean, I think right off the top of my head, Chelsea and Sue from Legacy Knits, all the time they talk about recording in the morning, and then it's up before I go to bed that same day, and I'm able to watch it. So, and they easily have an hour-long video, if not more. So it's not really a video length thing. Our internet is not ideal. It's not the best, but it's by no means bad. We pay for like the best internet that we literally can get to our house, and it's not horrible internet quality. I realize, I don't need an education on upload versus download. When they quote internet speed, they quote download speed, and upload speed is significantly less. I realize that, but we've done speed tests on our connection that says that this should not take so long. So, I'm saving it appropriately. I'm saving it in the right file type. I've tried uploading directly to YouTube. I've tried uploading from iMovie to YouTube. And whenever I Google about this, I like search, people just say like YouTube's horrible and it takes forever. But 3 days seems a little crazy. Like I've got to be doing something wrong and I don't know what it is. And it is just so immensely frustrating that in that moment, I like don't even want to do it anymore. Just like, why am I just smashing my head against the wall for no reason? what else can I do? I don't know. That would be like the saddest reason in the world to stop podcasting, because I can't upload. It's so silly. I just want to figure it out so that it's not 4-day delay from filming to upload. It's crazy. So, okay, enough about that. I'm just going to show you one little thing that I got, and then we're actually going to wrap this up. There's not much else to talk about, so I will be right back. Okay, guys, I do not have any KNITSTANT gratification this week. That's my stash enhancement where I like lose my mind and buy a bunch of stuff I don't need because I just have to have it. I got so much stuff in Salt Lake City that I just don't really feel compelled to feed the stash at the moment, which is kind of refreshing. I mean, there's definitely still stuff that I want. I see bags that I want all the time. I am always following dyers on Instagram. The latest thing that I'm looking for, honestly, is a peach yarn. If you know a beautiful peach yarn, I want something tonal. I don't want something super variegated. It definitely has to be fingering weight. I don't really care if it's like a luxury fingering or a sock, because it's not going to become socks. I can make anything work. But I want a peach yarn, not a light pink, not something that's like into the orangey, yellowy. I've seen some peach yarns that are literally inspired by the outside of a peach, so they're more orange and yellow and a little bit of peach. I just want the color peach. And the only one that I've seen come even close is from a dyer that I follow on Instagram. I think it's Lolo did it, and it is her Princess Peach colorway, which I almost just want to get for the name alone. It appeals to the Mario nerd in me. If you see a peach yarn that you think I would love, please, please, please tag me in it and let me know. Comment on Instagram, because this is the only thing that could get me to buy something for my stash at the moment. But I did get something that I want to show you guys, just because it's been on my mind for forever, and I finally decided I had to have it. So let me tell you a little story. I heard about these. This is one thing I'm going to show you, but it relates to the other thing. So I heard about these. This is a set of books. I'm a reader. I love reading. I just do. I don't spend enough time reading because I knit all the time, but this is a set of books. These are, I think, Penguin Classics. Yeah, Penguin Classics. It's called the Puffin in Bloom collection. And the illustrations are by Anna Bond, who is the name you would know her as, is, if you don't know her name itself, is a Rifle Paper Company, who does just beautiful stationery, calendars, prints, iPhone covers, maybe other phone covers, but I think they might do Samsung too. I just know they have iPhone covers. And she has illustrated a little collection of books, of classics. So there was one a few years ago that went around. I have some of them. It was Coralie Bickford Smith, I think is her name. She did covers of Penguin Classics, and they're just beautiful. And I want them all, just to have them all, and in the hopes that someday we have kids and I want them to read all these classics, but they're just absolutely beautiful. So when I saw that Anna Bond had illustrated some of these, I couldn't stop myself. I mean, for what reason, I don't know. I couldn't stop myself. The main reason I couldn't stop myself was because of this. I mean, I'm not the first person in the world to read Little Women. I'm sure so many of you have read Little Women, but Little Women holds more than just a special place in my heart. I am so in love with this book. If you have not read it and you didn't read it in your childhood, you absolutely should, of course. But if you are a fan of Little Women and you like learning about Louisa May Alcott, there is a podcast, I think it's called Stuff You Didn't Learn in History Class, and they do a podcast. I think it's called Stuff You Didn't Learn in History Class, and they started out actually doing an episode on Louisa May Alcott, and then there was so much interesting stuff there about the family, about her father Bronson Alcott, and I think her name is May, even though Louisa's middle name is May. May, the character Amy, they did a separate episode about her, so it's worth checking out. But if it was up to me and it was not up to Alan at all, I would name our children Josephine and Theodore, no questions asked, because of this book. I've read it so many times, it's unbelievable. So I saw it and I had to have it. I just could not have it. It's so beautiful. I have so many copies, and I always read the same copy, the copy that I've had since childhood, so I probably won't even read this, but I'm not like a collector of useless things that I don't need, with the exception of copies of Little Women that are extraordinary, and I would consider this one of them. And then from there, they had Anne of Green Gables, which I've never read. And a friend of mine, the same friend that I was talking about who's starting knitting, loves Anne of Green Gables. And I was thinking, like, I really got to read this. And then at that point, it made sense. Like, if I'm getting 2 of them, should I just get the whole set? So the other ones in this set are A Little Princess and Heidi. I've never read any of these. So this is my new project. I'm going to have to lay off the podcasts for a little bit and actually read, because I want to get through all these. I'm tempted to start with Anne of Green Gables because it's the story I'm kind of the most familiar with. Even though I haven't read it, I generally know what's going on. If you think that I should start with a different one because you happen to love one of these, please let me know. But these are just so beautiful. If you're a reader and a lover of classics and a lover of Rifle Paper Company and Anna Bond, then I obviously thought it was worth wasting money on. So, while I was wasting money on books, which is that ever a waste? I mean, I have a Kindle that I enjoy, but there are certain, if I'm going to buy something modern that I feel like doesn't have a ton of longevity, I just buy it on my Kindle because it's easier. But if I'm buying something classic that I know that I want to have through my lifetime and hopefully our children's lifetime, I still buy the hard copy. Which leads me to the next item. My mom actually tagged me on Facebook about this right around Christmas, right before Christmas, I think. And I didn't end up picking it up, but while I was getting those books, it like popped into my head. And that is because so many podcasters are talking about Harry Potter lately. If you guys didn't know about this, I have, obviously, I'm a Harry Potter fan. I've never talked about it before. Absolutely, yes. Actually, I have. I told you guys about the Wizarding World of Harry Potter that I went to this time last year. So that's actually the second time that I went to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. The first time I went was probably in 2011. When did they open? It was then, probably the year that they opened. And when I first went, it was only the Hogsmeade side. Diagon Alley it didn't even exist. So the train was there, but it was stationary. You couldn't take it anywhere. It was just like a ambiance feature. You could like look at it, and there was a conductor, but there was not a functioning train. So the second time I went, they had both worlds open. So this, getting to the point, is an illustrated copy of the first book. I already have the first book. Not only do I have the first book, I'm pretty sure I have the first book in German as well, because of when my parents lived in Germany. Beautiful, beautiful illustrated copy. And I mean, I'll show you a little bit. I have not cracked into this much because this just showed up maybe on Friday and we've been busy, so I haven't had time to read. But I wanted to reread the first book anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and reread from the illustrated one. I won't bore people too much if you're not into Harry Potter, but I am, and I'm very excited about this. So, instant gratification things this week. Things that I saw and I had to have immediately. Definitely the illustrated copy of Sorcerer's Stone and this lovely set of Penguin Classics. So there we go, guys. For once, I think I can say that I don't think this one was too long. I really love sitting here and rambling with you guys about stuff for like an hour and a half of my day. I enjoy it, but the more often I do it, it's inevitable that they're going to get a little shorter. So there's not a whole lot else going on at the moment in our lives. I mean, it definitely feels like spring, but we're still in winter mode. We're still getting snowmobilers. Alan actually rode his snowmobile twice this week, so we still have snow. And it's beautiful today, but it's kind of been almost bitter cold lately. My brother is actually coming into town this coming week for the first time, and that is because I don't think he's been to Wyoming at all before. This is my older brother. My younger brother has been here with his wife. My older brother and his wife are opening a dealership of their own in Michigan, and we thought it would make sense for him to come out and kind of see trials and tribulations that we go through at our dealership and get him a little crash course in running a dealership before their place opens. Our place is, obviously it's in a small town, it's kind of a small place, but theirs is going to be much larger, a pretty snazzy place in Michigan. So he will be here probably on Tuesday. I think he's going to stay through the end of the week. And other than that, not a whole lot of excitement in our lives that I can report. For once, things are just kind of slow going and easy enough. Getting a lot of knitting done, and I'm going to start reading probably after I finish here. So I guess that's all. Thank you guys so much for watching, for being here with me. I'm still, the ABCs of podcasters is definitely still coming. I have not forgotten about that. The upload issues definitely put a wrench in everything, but it's still coming. So if you guys have any questions for me, I got a thread in my Ravelry group if you want to get a hold of me. I am either Milkshed or Milkshed Blog on everything, on Facebook, which I don't use, on Ravelry, on Instagram. I joined this new app that everybody's talking about in case Instagram kind of ruins the experience for us, that LO. I'm Milkshed on there as well. So I guess that's all. Thanks for joining me, guys, and I will see you next time.